So for right now, we're going to treat our points as what's called structs in other languages, and especially C. So we're writing our class right now, but in C, what this would be called a struct. And basically, a struct is just basically a combination of fields. So basically, a bunch of fields grouped together into a single data type, right? So in other words, I'm not going to worry about adding the behaviors yet. I'm not going to worry about like saying, how do I actually do something with this object? Because technically, it is doing something in the fact that it's helping us organize the code. So right now, we're going to just look at how we can build up this bomb class using the point class. So so the other thing to learn is that we can pretty much do anything we want. We can treat, the classes we write as basically they're, like any other class. So in other words, we could create an array of any object we create. So like, so say we've got an array of strings. You can create an array of strings, and it's going to come up with 5 nulls, as I mentioned, which means that basically it's not going toward any object. You can also have an array of drawing panels, but why would we? So let's go into that. We've got this thing called a null value. If you create an array of any array of objects, you're going to, if you tried to print it out using system.println arrays.toString, you're going to have an array of nulls. Okay. So what is a null? Well, we can put a null into any variable that holds an object or any array element. So like here you've got a string set to null or a string inside of an array set to null. You can print out null just fine. You can check if something is null. So, so basically I can ask, say I've got string s if, so string s is equal to null. If s equals null, that's null. So you can check if something is null, which is useful for a lot of reasons. You can also pass in null as a parameter, but that's dangerous because for a reason about it. You can also return null. It's often used to show that basically something really messed up, because null is the source of a lot of errors. So basically, if you try to, you can access, right? We've been doing this to access the methods or data in an object. You can use the dot notation, right? Here I was using here if I have a string of some kind of length, I can go bc, and I can just do sout s dot length. Right? But say s is null. That means that basically that the string s does not exist. If I run this now, I get an exception, a null pointer exception. This meant that I tried to dereference a null. This means, remember, string, what gets stored here? When I do ABC, what gets stored in S is not, and this is important, I guarantee this will be on, this concept is going to be on the exam. When I do this, string S is equal to ABC. ABC, because string is an object, does not actually get stored in S. What gets stored in here is the address in memory where I can find ABC. Okay? So it's what we call a reference, which means that basically, yeah, it's an address, but Java automatically turns it into the string for us. So if I do s.length, that dereferences it. That means the dot basically says, okay, let's take this memory address, go to the string there, and figure out how big it is. But if I say it's null, well, that string doesn't exist. So when I try to dereference it, I try to go to, where do I try to go to? I try to go to null, which is a memory location that doesn't exist. So it gives me a null pointer exception. Now, generally, the way this happens is like you create an array of strings, right, and you forget to initialize them. right? Normally why does this happen? It's normally an accident. So the way we can get around this is by just checking. If we're dealing with something that might be null, we can check if it is null. So here, right, we create a string of words. So we have hello in index 0, 2 in index, goodbye in index 2. So we've got hello, null, goodbye, null, null. And then what we can do is that we can, if we want to print out all the words in there, we can loop around and say, hey, if it is not null, then turn it into uppercase. Otherwise, turn it up to uppercase and store it in that location. Otherwise, just leave it be. And if we didn't have this if not equal to null, then we'd get to the first one, turn it to uppercase, get to null, try to turn it to uppercase, but it's null. There's nothing there. So we'd crash and burn. And the way to get around that is, to actually initialize every element in the array when you create an array of objects. Okay. So now that we know that, we pretty much know everything we need to start building the program.